Hey there, welcome to LSAT Demon Daily. I'm Nathan Fox. That's Ben Olson. We're the founders of LSATdemon.com and our weekly podcast, Thinking LSAT. Ben, we have an email here from Mark who asks about work experience during undergrad.
Good morning. How do law schools value work experience that was done during one's undergrad? My GPA is lower than medians at the schools that I want to attend, and I was curious how admissions would evaluate my work experience throughout my undergrad. During my freshman and sophomore years, I was a manager of a retail company. During my junior year of college, I was hired as a courtroom assistant for a large government organization and started my own retail business online. Currently, during my senior year, I am a judicial assistant for a judge within this same government organization. At every point within my undergrad, I have worked 40 to 55 hours per week. I would love to hear any insight or advice that can be offered.
Thank you, Mark. I think that you have very valuable work experience. I think that it's going to serve you well in your life. And I do think that it's going to help you in your law school applications when all else is equal. You have not yet mentioned anything about your LSAT, though. And I just don't want you to think that because the work experience is a feather in your cap, you can therefore rely on that work experience to get you into law school. You acknowledge that your GPA is below the medians at the schools that you're trying to get into. That means if you want to get in, and especially if you want to pay any kind of a reasonable price, you need an LSAT that demonstrates you have the horsepower, and from a purely cynical point of view, the schools need you to have a higher than their median LSAT because they don't want you bringing down their public profile. Your work experience is not represented on their public profile. Your LSAT and GPA are. So, they're going to be gritting their teeth. If they admit you, they're going to be like, this Mark looks like a really good candidate, but the GPA is going to drag down our median, which has a negative influence on our US News ranking, which has a negative influence on how many people apply to our school. And so we need the LSAT to balance that out. That's what gets you in the discussion. Then the work experience, I think, can help you a lot. I think Mark has an excellent opportunity to write a personal statement about his work experience in the law specifically. Yeah. You can leave the retail thing out of it, most likely. It's on your resume. That'll look good. Personal statement probably about working in this large government organization, judicial assistant for a judge. That seems like the right thing to write your personal statement about. I think he's probably going to have great letters of recommendation from these same people, including that judge. But if he applies with an LSAT that's below the median, I think schools are that's a presumptive do not admit, right? Below median LSAT, below median GPA. Why are we going to admit?
No, you got to get the numbers where they need to be. I think they're going to give a little bit on the GPA because if you're below the medians and you're already below. So whether you're lower than someone else who's also lower than the medians, that's not going to matter. And then your work experience will, make you look better than those candidates, but you're not going to look better than candidates who are at or above the medians in terms of GPA. So You're not competing with them, at least on the GPA front, which is why you have to bring that LSAT up. Yeah.
You do look employable, Mark, which is another thing that schools are ranked on. But employability is just this amorphous thing, and it's GPA can be put in a spreadsheet and employability is much more difficult. So I think the schools, if you get the numbers in the right place where they're actually interested in you, then this is going to stand out. And you can make it stand out by writing a personal statement about your work experience. I suppose I might consider a GPA addendum here. I know we almost always say no to GPA addendums, and you're probably going to shoot me down on this anyway, which I'm fully willing for you to do. But the case for a GPA addendum is just something like, for the purposes of evaluating my transcripts, I want you to know that I worked 40 to 55 hours at every point during my undergrad.
I don't have a problem with that one sentence in part because the excuse is a positive.
It's a positive, and it's a fact, which that doesn't mean you should include it. It's a positive fact, which means, go ahead and write that one
But
sentence.
leave it at that.
GPA.
So
addendum.
many people are going to editorialize beyond that.
Right.
Like, oh, and it made it difficult for me to balance and juggle, blah, blah. It's like, no, stop,
Totally.
stop.
I failed these classes because I was so busy at the managing the Dick's Sporting Goods. And it's like, yeah, okay. But, now you're telling them that you chose Dick's Sporting Goods over your academics.
Yeah. No, let's not
which
get
is
into
gonna
that.
Make them think that you're going to do the same thing when you're in law school. So, saying I worked 40 to, I like the at every point. That's strong. At every point within my undergrad, I worked 40 to 55 hours per week.
Outside of school. I have one last question for Mark. 20 years from now, will you wish that you had built your own retail business online or pursued law school?
I was thinking along the same lines. Yeah. I know we always end up trying to talk people out of law school. Yeah. Mark, what do you get more satisfaction from? Operating businesses or the legal work that you have done so far? Be honest with yourself. Stop thinking about prestige and fancy suits,
degrees,
and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Stop thinking about what your parents think of you. Stop thinking about what friends, where do you think you can do more in the world? And, maybe it wasn't satisfying building a retail business online. Maybe it was like, maybe you didn't feel good about it. Like maybe it was just a money-making operation and you didn't feel like you were actually helping anybody. But to the extent that people were buying shit from you, they only do that because they think you're offering them value. So were you creating more value in the world by doing commerce than you project yourself to do with a legal career?
Last thought. A couple of years ago, I was talking to someone, and in passing, they said that I didn't have a real job. And they meant it as a slight dig, but I took it as the biggest compliment in the world. I am so glad I don't have a 9-to-5 real job.
Yeah, you just got back from 2 weeks hiking across New Mexico with your kids. And, boy, it's awful hard to do that, especially with people who have law jobs.
Yeah.
Law firms just abuse the shit out of people. And, oh, yeah, you've got unlimited vacation, but you can never take that vacation.
Yeah. Not this week. Once the trial's over.
Totally.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you get about 4 to 6 weeks of vacation. Personal days, PTO. We do require you to be online 24 hours a day.
You didn't respond to my email from last night at 10:21 p.m. What's up?
Yeah. It's now 4 a.m. and I'm still waiting for a response.
Yeah.
All right, Mark. Thanks for writing in. Email daily@lsatdemon.com if you would like to ask us a question or share some LSAT or law school admissions news. Thanks for listening.